Cool, great, awesome. So I am super stoked, everybody. We have Chad Nicefield, formerly of Wilson. Well, not really formally, but R.I.P. Wilson. How have you been doing, man? It's been a while.
Oh man, I've been good. I've been crazy good, just a different version of crazy and good, you know. How about you?
No, I've been doing good. Been doing good. This pandemic life has been killing me, but I think everyone
All
can
right.
kind of relate to that to a point, right?
100%.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So obviously I met you before, obviously when you were on tour with Wilson with Panther, but what have you been up to since Wilson hung it up? It was about a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, we played our last show December 2019, December 28th, 2019. And
Yeah,
right after that, we went to lockdown. So
it was
I,
kind of a good time to kind of hang it up in a weird way. Like you guys kind of like popped out right at the end of like right before everything kind of went to hell.
yeah, I don't know if there's really a good time for a pandemic or to end a band and then go into a
Right.
pandemic, but at least we weren't, a lot of our friends got stuck into like really sticky situations where like they just released a record and couldn't do anything,
Mhm.
couldn't tour, really didn't know what to, or were about to release a record and, and then we're like, wait, do we release it? What do we do? When you get in
Yeah.
those situations, I don't know what it would particularly be like to be in a, to have the force of nature literally capsize your essentially your boat moving forward. It
Your
sucks,
business pretty much at that point. It's just like, nah, dude, you're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, strangely enough, I've so I felt it in my own way, beyond what everybody else's, how it's affected everybody else's lives. But I've been a talent buyer producing concerts for 15 years, up until the pandemic, and my band ends, and then my job ends, and then I'm stuck in my ex-girlfriend's gets murdered, and then our sound guy, front of house guy, Kelly, he passes away a
Aw.
week after my ex-girlfriend gets murdered. And then just stuck in Los Angeles in the middle of a pandemic until July 20th, I think I came home. And I've been back in Detroit pretty much, sans a few trips back to LA and Nashville where I could for business. But yeah, man, I've just been keeping busy trying to stay afloat, figure out my next moves, and all that.
Right, trying to kind of stay that definitely sucks, man. I feel like the pandemic's definitely hit us all differently, whether we lost people from a disease, like the actual disease, or just people leaving because of differences, or like you even said, just people passing away from a various amount of things. It's definitely hit everyone differently.
Yeah, I mean, the folks that had passed away at my end, they didn't pass away due to the pandemic. They passed away for other reasons. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, I don't, I work in the business side of things now. So, I work for a management company. Like I said, I was producing concerts for 15 years up until the pandemic. So keeping busy has never been hard for me. Not being busy and not knowing what to do with my hands
Yeah.
is very hard for me as a person. So yeah,
Right. Right. No, I
figuring it out
totally
like
agree.
everybody else.
Especially, yeah, no, especially with like the different stuff you can do in the music industry when it comes to like behind the scenes kind of stuff. I mean, you're probably more familiar with that than I am, even on the media end of it, with like producing shows and being in management, because I know management's like a whole thing too.
Yeah, it's how everything happens. No artist moves forward without a good team behind them. And Wilson knows that just as well. I also, I host the Shiprock music cruise. So
Mhm.
I'd done my first year of actually hosting in 2020, right before the pandemic, actually in February, and was supposed to be hosting 2021 January, but that got put on a side burner too. In the interim, we started a podcast for the ship, which has been also keeping me busy, which was fun to catch up with all the different friends from playing the ship over the years and doing, interviews and whatnot, kind of like what we're doing now. And yeah. I mean, there's a
Right.
bunch of different ways you can slice the pie. You just got to get out there and find a pie to slice, I suppose.
Right, exactly. That's a cool analogy, though. I've never heard that before. But no, I totally agree. Being able, like, this is what's kept me sane through all of this. Like, when you can't be out touring doing photos like I normally am as a touring photographer, it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do? I guess I'm going to, like, make my podcast a bigger thing. I'm going to start doing live streams now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to learn all this. Like this is the way that the industry will be moving forward, period. Even live stream concerts, they're not going away. It's not just like, oh, okay, back to concert life. We're going to forget about this version of being able to see it from our home. It's going to live for 100% in the middle. Every show will probably be live streamed, and every live stream will have a show for the most part. And sometimes, live streams will just exist because it's easier to do that. The industry is a funny, fickle thing. When new technology comes along, it's usually the gray hairs that are quick to push it away because to protect their piggy bank. But once they see that the piggy bank is growing, no matter if they're participating or not, they're quick to find ways to upend and participate in it. And you're seeing it right now with like some of the conglomerates. For the touring side of things, getting into the live stream games when even with physical tickets going on sale and having the option to do both,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see how live streams, I guess, grow as regular concerts keep coming.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like every show's going to be live streamed? Certain ones, like how's that really going to work? It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely. So I do want to talk to you about the last Wilson show that you guys had, because I was actually at that show. I don't think I saw any of you guys that night, but I was actually there, and the one thing I remember from that was the whole crowd moshing to "Summertime Treat," and I thought that was like the greatest thing I had ever seen in my life. So I just wanted, obviously,
it was night. Yeah, I mean, like the show in general. Sorry, I was having some cut. Are you able to hear me? Okay. There's a bunch of
I can hear you now.
Stalling or anything on your end? Okay,
no,
cool.
You're good now.
Yeah, the last show was a treat. It's hard to bring myself back. I mean, we put out a record from that show, 10 songs. Just, it came out. Oh shoot! It came out that we announced it 1 year after the show played, and then in January the record actually came out, and you can find that like on Spotify and Apple, all the usual DSPs. Bringing myself back to that moment, it was like you said, we didn't see each other. I didn't see many people. I didn't even see my family. It was so much chaos going on, and being in it, large and in part, we had our hands on all of it, when we were a band, from like how we put our music together to how we toured to how we it was the band's DNA engulfed in all of it. So like that show in particular, we had a lot of dual hats we were wearing, from like, performance wise all the way to setting it all up, to settling, to making sure the charity auction went off without a kick. So I felt like I didn't have 1 minute solid in one space unless I was on one of those stages,
Yeah, no, it seemed like it was a lot going on, but it was such a great show, and definitely it was an emotional night for everybody, I think, but it was definitely a really cool night, and I think the crowd fucking just lost their shit with it. It was cool.
Yeah, it was nice to hear. Like, I edited the live record, so like getting into those microphones and listening to like the crowd just in general, that's my biggest takeaway from not only the pandemic but putting out the record and thinking about that time period in general, was hearing the voices and the energy. You could just hear the energy in those like room mics, It's a lot of emotion going on in that room that night.
Yeah, that night was crazy. It's definitely one that I'm never gonna forget, because it was so cool, and it was such a good energy, and I'm sure you guys are gonna carry that too, as much as I am.
Yeah. I mean, selfishly, the only reason why we actually recorded the show the way we did, we had no like plans to put out a record or something like that. In fact, to be honest with you, I think all of us have forgot we even recorded the show until one of our friends, who was like at the time just got done mixing like a I Prevail live record. And he's like, he had our stems from the recording that night because he was there. He's like, hey man, check this out. And it was a dump truck he sent me. And I said, where the fuck did you get this? It's like, oh, we had the recording. I mixed it. I said, oh, do you have more of them? He's like, yeah, dude, they're your recordings. I'm like, oh yeah, I recorded that show. I totally forgot about it. You know, and the whole point of it was like, hey, we'll have this music to listen to as the dudes in the band. Never intended to put it out. And then it just was like one of those moments where we were like, oh man, people got to hear this.
Yeah.
It's too much.
It was one of those like whoop moments. No, for sure. I totally can understand that. Especially when you forget you record something and then you like look back and you're like, oh, whoa. Like whether it's something on your phone or like an actual recording, it's like, whoa, what was that? And then you just get like transported back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That's
for
fun.
sure. So, obviously, I mentioned at the beginning that I met you when you guys toured with Panther, and I kind of wanted to talk about this because I never like really got a chance to talk to you guys about this. You guys did like a bunch of touring with them like over the span of a couple of years, and I'm pretty sure it was the Right to Rise record was the first tour that you were on with them.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was like some weird transition you guys had. And I mean this in like the best way possible, but from like that show to like when you guys started doing like the Tasty Nasty record, it was like night and day in the best way possible. And I just wanted to kind of ask you, what was the like what caused that transition? Because you guys definitely there was something that happened there.
Yeah, a lot happened. The easiest way to put it is you know, I don't think it's fair to define somebody for a moment by a moment in time. Period. Whether I'm not thinking about it egotistically, like Wilson the band, but just people in general. You're not like every moving second of the day we shed skin. We lose neurons and gain neurons, and everything that we read a book, we learn more. We become a different person. Every time we touch another human, we're a different person. And I think it's a sham and it's a shame when bands think that they have to do the same version of themselves over and over and over again to appease the commerce side of their art. And I think fans that that are really bully-ish when it comes to that, I think that they're the worst type of people. We don't owe you anything. I don't owe you anything. Right. You don't owe us anything, The last thing that I would have wanted to do is put out another Right to Rise. And I think everybody in the band felt that way. We had some, we had our own version of like the music industry trials and tribulations that you could, point towards some of that. And that's probably a little bit of the reason why like the kindling started for the change, but the real reason was, Wilson always did whatever the fuck we wanted. We weren't ever supposed to be like a band we never started the band to be like what the Wilson became. It was just, it was a fluke. We were playing in a college town here in Michigan where Jason was going to college at the time. And we just played parties and, we all come from other bands who had been on the road and things like that in the past. And there's no like drive for us to do it again because it was at that point in time when we started in 2009. It was like, whatever, we'll just play for free beer. And that it just sort of like tumbleweeded, like a snowball. And it grew and grew until it was like it was a force. People were starting to ask us for like things, whether that was playing shows or that was like, can we put your record out or whatever? And we just kind of went along with it. And we changed. I mean, if you listen to the record before Full Blast Fuckery to Right to Rise, it's different. If you listen to Right to Rise to Tasty Nasty, it's different. Tasty Nasty, Right to Rise to Tasty Nasty was deliberate more so than anything else. And that was more or less.
I felt like a very big transition, like from even like Full Blast Fuckery to Right to Rise. That like there's a difference, but like Right to Rise to Tasty Nasty is like woof. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and it was, sans boring you with all the details, there's so much to that time period in our band's life from like Right to Rise to actually like recording Tasty Nasty that happened. Firing management, one guy deciding he wanted to leave the band, but was going to make the record still, and figuring out what we wanted to do, finding new management, thinking about what made us make music in general. And it always came back to this thing, for at least for me, where you know, honoring the reason why I picked up a guitar or why I started to sing was like important to me. And so I reverted back to the idea of, well, I listened why did I start playing music, or what made me want to do this with my life? And I came back to like my teenage years. I was like, oh, you know, I grew up in the 90s, you know, like I was born 83. I was in high school, graduated when I was 2001. So that formative time period was like the Toadies for me, and Nirvana. And then you go and, I mean, I listened to, obsessed with Beastie Boys and Wu-Tang Clan and all that stuff like that was going on, was like everything to me, you know. And then the Corns and the Limp Bizkits and the, you know, the Chumbawambas, all of the different crappy, or if you think it's crappy or not, 90s music that, like, you know, just felt good. It felt like we were kids again making the record.
Yeah.
There's no rules. There was no rules. Like, no one said like, yeah, that doesn't sound like Wilson, or you can't do this to this, or you can't make this happen inside of a record. We did all of that, all those choices, made all of those choices ourselves. Nobody, you know, somebody, I read the review once, was like, sounds like the music industry got the Wilson. They sold out. I'm like, are you saying it sounds big? Are you saying it sounds good? No one made us do that. That's us.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're saying, thank you very much, because that means that I produced a product that you think is tangible enough to reach a limit that would be called selling out. And if a rock band in 2018 can sell out, good for them, because everything else that's coming on the radio and all this other shit, it sounds like the same exact stamp over and over and over again. And I don't listen to it, so why the fuck would I play it?
All right.
Yeah.
Right. So it was kind of just like, we're going to totally do something out of left field and just fucking go off on our shit.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is we didn't give a fuck about anybody else.
That's great.
I think it's the most punk rock thing that punk rock version of ourselves that we could have been, is like, oh, bearded guy, you want us to sound like what you want it to sound like? Well, fuck you. We'll sound like this instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think that's one of the greatest records that I've heard, and I'm not just saying that because you're on here. I've said that multiple times beforehand, and I definitely was very blown away the first time I heard Dump Truck live. I was like, whoa, what the fuck just hit me? But yeah, no, I love that. I love the fact that you guys were like, nah, dude, fuck that. We're just gonna put out what we want to put out, and like, fuck that shit.
Yeah. Fuck those people too, you know, like, I mean, whether they were, you know, the fans of Wilson from the back in the day, they knew our DNA. Like, that wasn't a record that came out of left field, maybe sonically, but if you know who we were as people, you knew all of you knew what the Easter eggs were in that record, the inside jokes, the pieces of the pie that all spoke to who we were, what happens behind the doors, you know. We came out, in all intents and purposes, we came out of our homes with our birthday suits on, you know, and said, oh, world, look at us, you know, look at our unfabulous bodies and our, you know, our grotesque little secrets, you know, that sort of stuff. And we just put it all out there. And it was always my favorite part of that record release few months was to read, because I always knew, I knew exactly what they were going to, it sounds so shitty to say, but like, I knew exactly what the person was going to look like and be into on the other side of a comment. So I would play a little game with myself, what I would read like some negative thing where some dude said that, like I said, sellouts, or what happened to this fucking band or whatever. And I said, this dude's going to be over 40. He's going to have a bunch of him playing guitars in his profile pic, just really wishing he can go back in the day, and probably overweight. Most likely some facial hair, and looks a little bit like he could be beating his fucking wife or some shit. And I went and clicked on the picture and I said, that guy's a fucking idiot. And he looks exactly the way that I thought he was, going to look. And that might sound like I'm like judging a book by its cover, but I was never wrong. It was always these like people who were too afraid to be themselves, you know, they're too afraid, or what they thought was the way something. It's like a PB&J doesn't have to always be Concord grape jelly and creamy peanut butter. It can also be crunchy peanut butter and raspberry preserves. It's the same fucking sandwich. It just tastes a little different, you know?
Yeah.
And fuck you for saying that somebody else's PBJs isn't as good as yours, because it's just a sandwich, man. Calm down.
It's like, don't take it that seriously. It's just a sandwich, dude. No, I totally get that. That's hilarious, but it's true though. Like a lot of people that like, even when I get comments like on the podcast and stuff, like someone told me I talk too much, and I'm like, the fuck? Clicked on it. It's literally like it was like a Dave Mustaine like fandom page, and I'm like, of course it is.
Yeah. There's some dude aggro as fuck because some broad back in the day. I don't mean that. I mean that in the only their terms. I would never say broad in like as if I mean it. I mean, they're like, no, well, freaking broad didn't bang me or some whatever they're angry about.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope they find it.
No, you're right. You know? Yeah, you're 100% right. It's like some like, I probably reminded him of some chick that like didn't like bang him in high school. And he's like, what the hell?
And, you know, like, in whatever happened to them that hurt them, it's unfortunate that they can't find the happiness or like get through it, you know, and like they can't, you know, whatever's keeping them away from moving forward as a human is not ours to help them get through. But I truly do wish and hope that they find that as a person, because they're just going to be stuck in this continuation loop of like some bullshit that they couldn't find their self getting through years and years ago. And what's the point? Like,
yeah, it's like, what's the point at that level of, I guess, stupidity? When people just don't get it. They're not open-minded enough to be able to understand it.
And you know, you can lead a horse to water, and unfortunately, you know, I mentioned DNA earlier, but unfortunately, you know, that sort of stubbornness comes down to their DNA. You know, how what their environment, where they come from, all those things, those outside influences that have just kind of like put up these fences or something. But the idea is they're not brick walls; they're just fences. You know?
Right. No, I totally get that.
You know.
Like, yeah, dude, no, I totally get you though, because like so many people like they judge that. Like I was talking to one of the couple of the people in Sumo Psycho about this on the show last week, and one of their videos, like she was like in a tub of glitter or something like that, and like all these people were like, oh, they're selling out. It's like, how is that selling out though? It's really not. Like they're just over there doing like their own creative stuff. It's the same stuff with like you said, the comments that you got with Tasty Nasty, like how is that selling out? Like it's not even that mainstream. You know what I mean? It's not like you're trying to turn the Nickelback.
Yeah, I'm like, the glitter is selling out. Like I love them. I love them as a band and as people. She's such a sweetheart.
Oh yeah, Sky's awesome.
Sky Sweetnam, right? Sweetnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the funny thing is like, that's part of her DNA too. I don't know much about her, and I certainly don't want to assume I do, or their band, but the few times that we've been around them and hung out or whatever, I remember her telling me, I think she came from like, she did like a pop thing. She was like a pop star or something like that back in the day. I'm not exactly sure. She like went toward Britney Spears or something like that. Like it was like a big deal. She was. And, you know, moving away from all of that, because she's done a very similar version of like transformation. This is who she was, that she was that then. And she's also, everybody's a bunch of things all rolled up into one. You can't just, just define your life by one.
Yeah.
Visual, you know. Anyways, I think that she's a perfect candidate for Tasty Nasty. You know what the real definition of that is, right?
Well, enlighten my viewers.
What's that?
I said enlighten my viewers.
Yeah. So the record is an onion. You know, I could talk about it all the time. And at the surface, it's an onion. You know, either you like onions or you don't like onions. But beyond every layer of an onion is a new part of the onion. You know, as it tastes a little different as you get deeper to the core. The record means. Well, the record signifies the fact that you can't have one without the other. And the idea is like, you don't know what is good until you know what is bad. You can't
Right.
tell me or anybody else. You can't tell yourself what you don't like until you've tried something that you do like, and vice versa. Also, you can't know how to feel pain without feeling great, and you don't know how to feel great without feeling pain. It's the yin
Right.
and the yang. So
Hmm.
from what I said, you're right. It's a transformation, purposefully so, named purposefully so, from right to rise to tasty nasty, and you can't have one personally without the other. You don't know
Right.
how to feel this way without feeling that way.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. And I also like the fact that you said like an onion about how you peel off layers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That album is definitely an onion and a half to kind of hop into because there's definitely something for everybody on that record.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, again, purposefully, for us, because there was something for everybody. The five of us in the band, trying to get the backwards right. The five of us in the band, there's it's all of us, there's a little bit of all of us in that, so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was great and I like the variety that was on it. And I also thought the videos for that were absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Some of those were absolutely crazy, but they were great.
Part of my my favorite part of being in Wilson and doing what we did was I got to do all those videos with my friend Ray. Ray directed and I produced all of them except for the Summertime Treat video, which is the only video in our last real music video that we did, where I was like, hey man, I just want to step outside of the box of what we're used to and let somebody else do it, so I understand, like, am I doing a good job or am I doing a bad job? Or like, is this something that I actually enjoy doing, or is it something that I absolutely don't enjoy doing? But I did enjoy doing it all, it turns out. And yeah, like creating that world for each video from the very beginning of the band till then was probably my favorite part, besides writing the music and
Hmm.
seeing all the people and all of that stuff. But like creatively, I love the idea of having something inside of my mind like that and being able to like get as close as possible with my best friends.
Yeah. Being able to kind of see it like in front of you and also being around, like you said, your close friends and being able to kind of take over the world like that.
Yeah, manifesting it was very special. I don't know how to describe it. I'm certain there's a way to. I can only describe it the way that I know how to, and it's just like out of body, out of mind. When you're like,
Hmm.
wow. I watched the videos the other day. I watched like probably 3 of them. I haven't watched them in a long time. And I was like,
Hmm.
for having a $1,500 budget half of the time in those videos, being able to like call up friends and be like, hey man, do you have a freaking car? Or whatever it was, and like finding it all and hustling and sweating and worrying because I was like, I wanted this to look exactly like it's in my mind, but I don't have all of this money. How do I get dancers to come? I don't have money to pay them. Oh, I know a girl who knows how to teach, who teaches dance class. Maybe she'll be able to put together some people for, and I'll give her this or that, or something like that. And like bartered my way through all of those moments, from
Hmm.
even the kids playing. Have you ever seen the video for, if you have ever seen the video for our song, Give 'Em Hell, and there's like
Yeah,
volleyball. Those are all my friends' kids, and all the people who are like in the
that's
video,
awesome.
they're all the parents, my friends' the kids' parents, and getting to do that stuff is the highlight of my career, and to being able to like bring in and expose or laugh and just have a moment captured forever that thousands and thousands of people have seen, and be like, that's your kid, man. How cool is that? I got to
Mhm.
share that moment with them. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. And I always thought they looked very, very creative. I would have never known they were kind of like a low budget per se.
Yeah.
Kind of until you told me that. I thought they all looked really cool.
I think maybe the most money we ever had for a music video, um, because it's a rock band and they don't give you a bunch of money anyways when
Yeah.
you're in a rock band. I think we had $5,000 for maybe $7,000 for baller, somewhere around there, like a baller. And I think I spent almost all of that on what was the moped the moped that I bought and then painted gold. And
Oh my god.
yeah. It's so stupid. It's like, if you saw the original treatment of that video and then you looked at that and you what like, how did you get from there to there? I'm like, well, $7,000 goes pretty quick. And then, you're like, I
Like, it
guess
was
we
a
can't have
long thing. It was a long situation.
seriously. Oh, and the Wilson letters that cost, because we had to buy all the wood and stuff, and we fucked it up a few times. So we had to go back and buy more wood, and I think I gave all the dancers like $100 each. So when we're looking at the money that we had left for so again, what vehicle were we going to have floating from the ceiling down? Because the whole thing was not going to be a moped. I'm like, oh, we don't have enough money for the car thing anymore, do we? What about a moped? I know a guy who's selling a moped for like $1,500.
Oh my god, yeah, that's hilarious. I was wondering kind of how the moped thing came about, but now I know. Ooh, the secret's out. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that. Oh yeah,
It was supposed to be this car that floated, that was on basically like anchors that slowly fell from the ceiling, and we were like riding in it, looking all cool and stuff. And then we were like, so how much is the car gonna cost? And they were like, about $5,000. And I was like, well, what can we get for $1,500?
You're like, yeah, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, that's creative though. That's really cool. I never would have known that, but that's really funny.
See, like I said, those things are the best part of it. When you think of like the moment, those last minute shotgun ideas, you're like, we got to turn this in. When do we have to be this done? Does anybody have any cans of gold spray paint? Turns out I could get a gray moped for $1,500 today.
It's like, we're just gonna spray paint it.
Yeah, and I spray painted it with like straight up, like, it wasn't like a plastic type, whatever you would think you should be spray painting a vehicle of some sort with. It was just Home Depot acrylic gold paint. My hands. It's so stupid.
Oh my god, I love that. And that's all I'm gonna see now when I watch that video. That's hilarious. I love that. I love that tidbit. Thank you for that.
The next time you watch it too, you'll realize this. Like, if you look at my shitty face throughout the entirety of it, they had to try to bring down the red in it, because I had been outside in the summer. We shot it like, I don't even remember exactly when it was. It was like June. It was like a month before the record came out, and I'd been outside like building that big Wilson thing with my friend, and like getting this moped, spray painting it, and like just doing all this stuff to get the video ready. And I looked at my face by the time I was done with it, I was like, I look like a fucking lobster, guys. Fuck, like my nose is literally like a red-nosed reindeer, because it was just like I'd not put any sunscreen on. So by the time it came to shoot, they were like, Chad, your face is so fucked right now. And I'm like, I know. And like, it was like, also your hair is fucked. I'm like, I fucking know. Can somebody help me, please? So they had to like try to fix as much as they could in post.
That's hilarious. Like, oh my god, somebody help me. I know I look like a lobster, but I need help.
like running, like literally running in for a scene, because I was getting like another area set up or whatever before it was there. And I think there's like we put together, oh my god, I was just thinking, sorry, I'm getting off track, I know, but like there's when I'm like, I think there's the scene where, oh yeah, where I get slapped in the face by my boss, and I have this like I'm the guy with the shitty mustache on too, because we couldn't find another extra. When I get slapped in my face to wake up from the bed, they're like, I'm like, they didn't know how to make it work in the space, because it was a mattress, that needed to lay down. They needed to be over top of me. But whenever they were doing this, I can't remember exactly why. My friend Ray, why I I don't know why. All I know is I had to stand up instead, and there had to be like 2 people behind me holding the mattress so I could stand up and then just like walk away, you know? And that whole process probably took more time to shoot than that one scene probably took more time to shoot than the entire live performance.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
So dumb. Yeah.
I
Anyway.
don't. I can just see like 2 people like holding this mattress up, and you just being like, "Yo, this is stupid."
Oh, that's what it was. So they had to, because they had to hold up the mattress, and there was no way. It didn't look good when they panned out. It was like there's just shit everywhere. You can see like Puhy's arm coming from the side. So it's like, fuck it, man. Let's just make it look like shit on purpose. And I'm like, sounds good. How do we do that? And they're like this. So you can see like all of the chaos that's going on in the background is just like it just had to be that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that video again with all like these tidbits in my head and be like, "Hey."
When you do, where do you live?
I live in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you don't know anything about where. So
I know a little bit about Detroit. I know a little bit.
Okay, so we shot the vehicle stuff where I'm driving around in the car, and where the other the Hummer and the where the guys are in the other vehicles. It's outside of the Crowfoot, which is a venue that I booked shows at.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's in Pontiac, Michigan. Yeah, it's in Pontiac, Michigan. And outside of it, we didn't think anything of it at the time. But Sony, who put out the video, they were very, 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 very upfront about like no logos anywhere, and which is pretty typical, you know. Unless you get clearance from the brand, you don't put the logo in the video, you know.
Yeah.
And Sony being Sony, because they're such a large conglomerate, and they're like, they're like basically a bullseye for a lawsuit. You know, they're very, very, very protective of that. Behind one of the shots is a theater called the Flag Star Bank Strand Theater, and they had a sign, like you can see it back in the back where it says, it says the Strand and Flag Star. And I can't remember what we changed. We had to go in by frame and change the sign, so it said didn't say that on it, and we had to like smudge out every frame that had any of the vehicle logos in it. Like it's so much fucking work. The Mercedes Benz with the drop top. We just called everybody we knew that and asked them, do you guys have a Mercedes Benz with a drop top anywhere? We find them. Our friends just let us borrow those vehicles for the day. But like, we didn't know this. We didn't even think when we turned in the final product that we couldn't have like it was a tiny little Mercedes thing, for instance, on it. And every frame that I'm rolling around in it, the steering wheel, everything, it had to be wiped.
Oh my god, that had to be such a pain in the ass to go through and edit all that. Oh my god.
I didn't do it. Ray did it, and he hated me for. I think he still hates me, but like that particular situation was so stressful for everybody, and especially him. But yeah.
Oh my god, that is such a fun tidbit. I'm gonna have to, I'm definitely gonna have to re-look at all of that when I go back through. That's hilarious.
It's funny.
Oh my god. Well, I think that's all I have for you tonight, Chad. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. This was great, kind of reminiscing about Wilson for sure.
Thanks for having me. I'm thankful that we were able to. Is your family okay, by the way?
Everything's good. Yeah, everything's good.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm very, very glad to hear that. Thanks for having me on and being able to reschedule.
Yeah.